Good morning. Yeah, I'm a maker, I'm a developer, I'm a musician, I'm a runner. I like to do stuff. In fact, my website is iliketomakestuff.com. I like to, I'm passionate about creating and exploring things. And I also have 4 kids, like he said. I'm very passionate about them, too. They're young, they're close together in age, and a lot of people think that's tough or that's whatever, but it's fantastic. I have a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 2.5-year-old, and a 5-month-old. See? It's not that bad. They're fantastic. They're awesome. Being that close in age and being that young, one of the most fun things to watch is how they play. When kids are very young, the way that they play changes constantly. And so having 4 in that age, there's just a lot of states of play happening at the same time. When kids are very small, the way they play is they find the 2 most brightly colored pieces of plastic they can find, and they slobber on them. And then they learn to bang them together, and then they learn to put them in a box and take them out of a box, and then they learn to put them in a line, and then they stack them up, and it just changes constantly. Well, my oldest was about 3. One day, he had some dinosaurs lined up or something, and I heard him playing and saying something like, "Oh no, there's a thing coming. We got to get out of here. Oh no, they're coming. We got to go to the place." It was this very non-specific, but really important to him play. And I remembered watching him. I remembered feeling that exact same way as a kid. I would set up my G.I. Joes, and all of a sudden there was a situation. There was some imminent danger, some big problem that I was responsible for playing out in these toys. I was responsible for seeing it through and making sure that it was fixed, it was accomplished. And also in listening to him and how general his play was, I realized that he had no context for need. Sorry. He had no context, no nouns to fill into those stories. Like me, he's growing up in a safe environment where his needs are met. He's not worried about survival. He's not worried about danger happening to him. And I'm very glad for that. But I also realized that it's my job as a parent to give him the context to fill into those stories. The things that fill those stories in define who our children become. The things that they're willing to fight for as kids define what they're willing to fight for as adults. We need to give them, in their play, we need to give them problems that are real world, fixable. And I don't mean that, their transformers need to stop world hunger, or I'm not talking about that. But there's a difference in teaching a kid that they should fight for someone in need versus fighting to be on top. Or they should save someone rather than win, or they should protect something rather than get things. It's a small distinction, but it's huge in the things that they chase in their lives. Why do we want that for them? We want them to be good people. We want them to have a positive impact on the world around them and on their local communities. But we also want them to be happy. Now, our culture does a fantastic job of telling us all the wrong things, so a good and a bad job of telling us what it takes to be happy. Our culture often says things like, if you have the most of this stuff, you'll be happy. Or if you can be the first one to do this thing, or you can do this better than anybody else, you'll be happy. But I think that's wrong. And if our kids grow up chasing those things, then statistically we're setting them up for failure. There's only one richest person in the world. There's only one first man on the moon. There's only one winning Super Bowl team. We are not those people, probably. And our kids are probably not going to be those people. And if that's what they're chasing, that's what they're basing their happiness on, they're bound to fail. They're bound to be unhappy. So how do we help them be happy? You could say, and this isn't an official definition, this is just something I came up with, that our happiness is the measure of success we find in the things that we value. So the stuff that we find important, how we interact with that stuff, how well we do that stuff, our happiness is based on that, on our success in the things that we value. So if that's the case, then we want to give our kids things to value that are realistic, that are things that they can actually do, and things that are repeatable. We don't want them to be happy. We want them to have happiness, right? Throughout their entire lives, we want them to continue to chase things that make them happy, not to just have little tiny bits that are happy here and there. So what does that look like? The specifics in everybody's life are different, but take things like making things. It's one of my passions. Making stuff, helping people, fixing problems, solving problems, exploring things that you don't understand or you don't know anything about. Those are things that we can do daily. Those are things that our kids can do daily, and the scope is different for every person. The specifics are different, but those are things that we can do, and we can continue to do those things over and over and over. You can always help someone else. You can always make something else. You can always explore more stuff. As parents and as educators and as just people, humans, we have a gift. The gift is the opportunity to play with kids. And I don't mean let your kids play near you. I don't mean buy your kids stuff so that they can play with it. I mean to get down on the floor with your kids or with someone's kids, get into their stories, get into the things that are happening, those dire situations that they're in charge of playing out. We have the opportunity to be involved in those. We have the opportunity to inject into those context and nouns that as they grow up into adults, those nouns and that context are the things that they will value as adults, the things that they will fight for as adults. And if those things are realistic and repeatable, then we've set them up for a great measure of happiness, a great possibility to chase the things that they love and be fulfilled because of it, and probably to leave the world in a better place than they found it. So my challenge to myself and to you guys is to go home and play with your kids, and like really, really play with them, and give them the context they need to have the life that you want them to have later on. So that's it. Thank you.